What I will say is the reason we're all over the place is, again, you posted something yesterday that was really funny about the lockout, but
I'm losing my mind on Instagram.
It is not. It hasn't ended yet, and and really, we can only talk about factual things on this podcast because, as Geoff mentioned, he's employed by Major League Baseball. Well, Major League Baseball team, the Houston Astros, and we can only talk about factual. There you go. But Blum, what's kind of the latest news? I mean, I think it's a little bit of jockeying for position, which is so funny. Yep. We thought they're now saying if nothing's done by February 24th, if I'm not mistaken, or the 22nd, that they'll have to delay the season. What I find funny is I think March 4th is kind of the deadline, and it's really funny. Shout out to Brian Strelitz. I ran into one of your old buddies and a guy I know his dad and stuff, and he actually had some good insight because he's been around the game quite a bit, and he just thought, if they can get all of this dialed in by March 4th, then there probably won't be a delay. So I'm wondering what you think about that February kind of 22nd, 24th deadline versus actually March 4th. And if we get beyond March 4th, what do your instincts tell you?
I believe that you are correct. Obviously, all of those are facts, and I think that this feels like the first time for me where there's actually been a deadline. I feel like there is a sense of urgency. But on the other hand, the one thing that drives me nuts is hearing about these 15-minute meetings. I mean, think about the disdain. I'm trying to think of a better word than hate because hate is goes so far. But think about
frustration is
frustration.
A word too,
disdain.
Yeah.
The
animosity.
You would have to have. The animosity you'd have to have for somebody to walk into a room already ticked off, and then to sit there and go, "Oh, really?" and then leave after 15 minutes. I mean. Yeah. Everybody has the desire to get this done, but walking in there after 15 minutes and saying, "Nope, I'm not going to do it," and leave, really kind of, I don't know. I don't know who initiates that or how that works. I don't know if it's the players or if it's the owners, but it's frustrating as a fan to sit there and go, "Really? I'm over here paying my good hard-earned money, or I'm wanting to work in my case, in your case, and you can't spend more than 15 minutes to try and figure this thing out." We both know that we're going to have to bend somewhere. So why does it have to take that deadline? And that's just an emotional response to what's going on. But I believe
it sounds like – go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead, dude.
I was just going to say that sounds like – and hopefully you finish your thought. It sounds like date night with the wife. It's like we've been at home, we've been working all day, whatever, work out in the yard. Go take a shower, get all dolled up, put your makeup on, comb your hair, get all dressed up, go out, have a margarita, some chips, and some tacos, and you come home and you take it all down and get your pajamas and you go – it's like – like a 15-minute meeting is like these guys are all wearing suits. It's like, all right, we're going to meet down there in the lobby of the hotel in the conference room. Let's go. And you're up in your hotel room and you're planning and you document it out. You get your tie, get all crisp and buttoned up, and you walk in the room and 15 minutes later, you're back on the couch up in your room going, what the hell just happened?
Why do we even bother?
Why bother? Exactly. Especially in an environment where most people are working at home and we're doing a lot of Zoom calls. We don't know what's going on, but it's frustrating. And from a fan's perspective, it's really frustrating to be like, all right, what are they doing, right? What are we doing? I don't know.
To the credit of the fans, I don't feel like the fan outbursts have been as crazy as they've been in the past. So I do give our baseball fans a lot of credit, but I think we're getting to that point where fans are starting to get pissed because I'm starting to see tweets, I'm starting to see comments on my Instagram saying, dude, I bought tickets in the first week of spring training and now they're getting refunded. And, where is that going? So I think that frustration is going to start kicking in. And I read an article the other day too that kind of described, a lot of these spring training cities have agreements with these ball clubs in Major League Baseball to have games. I mean, now you're starting to infringe on, some major income for some of these cities for 2 months out of the year. So there's a lot of financial issues going on here. And I think that March 4th deadline is a strong deadline. If you get past that, then I might start to panic a little bit and turn this podcast into a bachelor show. But I'm just kidding. I would never do that. Yeah. But I do think that the end of February is that date because you and I both know that we've talked about this long enough and thought about it hard enough, and we understand that they've come to an agreement that it would take them 3 weeks of games to get the season going on time. And I think that last week of February is going to be the week where they really hammer things out. But they need to come to an understanding that, look, owners aren't going to get everything they want. players are not going to get everything they want. And it has to be for the owners. They want so much. They're just going to stick to their guns. But I think players need to understand incrementally if they can nudge the ball in their direction going forward, that might be the best idea. And I don't know, what if it's a 2-year contract on this CBA? We're back here in 2 years. That's where I get frustrated is how long is a CBA, if they do come to an agreement, how long is a CBA going to be?
Yeah, and the CBA has usually been like 5 years. You just raised a really good point, and I think it's funny to think about something I hadn't thought of before, which is the spring training cities, because, I had spring training in Florida and Arizona.
Wow, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. So you have like Lakeland and Plant City and Tampa and, Port St. Lucie and these like smaller towns. And then, there's some newer facilities. I know the Braves are moving out of
West Palm
Orlando.
Beach, where the Astros and Nationals are at. That's only a 3-year-old stadium.
That's right, but it's beautiful. But that 2 months, so we're like, the owners, they just want 81 games in their home stadium and beer sales and ticket sales, and you start thinking about just this like 6-week period of Florida visits and Arizona visits. Surprise Arizona and Tucson that had 3 teams when I was playing. It's like, this is kind of their economic. Here in California, we know like Laguna Beach and San Clemente get jammed during the summer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very short window. You get frustrated, but gosh, it's your revenue for the entire year, and I think. Yeah, it's a little dismissive. I mean, maybe it opens up a bigger can of worms when we talk about like minor league salaries and minor leaguers and all of that kind of stuff is something that I hadn't thought about when you look at 81 games and the owners definitely want the season to start on time. If we start cutting into spring training, like you said, there are some livelihoods affected, probably deeper than they would be during COVID in these small cities in Florida and Arizona.
Yeah, not to mention all the free agent signings, because if it did end today, or if it does end on March 4th and you start to play those games and you start to get guys in camp, there are a lot of guys out there right now that have no idea where they would even end up. And they have to go through the whole negotiation process, too. I believe that there probably is some conversations going on through back channels, so to speak. But because there's never tampering in major sports.
No. Or any sort of conversation saying, all right, we need a utility guy, and these are our first 2 choices, and we're just waiting for the lockout to end, right?
Yeah, it'll be funny, like the next day, how many guys are like, boom, 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 start signing and getting those things out of the way.
78 players signed today. You're like, 78 guys, they're all going to big league camp? No way. That's amazing.
Yeah, so that is basically what's going on with that CBA. I think
so. March 4th, though, is your like if we get past March 4th, then I would
keep an eye on that February 27th, 28th.
That's a week from today, I believe.
Yeah, and Monday, I don't even know what Monday is. Monday the 22nd, I think, February 22nd. They're supposed to be meeting again, so hopefully these become a little more fruitful and a little more aggressive in the understanding that everybody's going to lose, especially the fans, if they don't get on the field. Because the last thing I think anybody wants to do is get into the regular season. You'll sacrifice games in spring, but this regular season, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because February is a short month, and you were like, the last week of February. So by the time everybody's listening to this, I think Monday is the 21st and Tuesday is the 22nd. So we're going to be – next week is the week. I mean, they've got to be sitting down for longer than 15 minutes, to your point, and be getting some things done. And now, like you said, we're starting to see some things on Twitter which mostly we cannot talk about, right? You got the MLBPA kind of translating what Major League Baseball's saying.
They're doing a good job of changing the narrative. I believe. Right. I think they're doing a good job.
Well, maybe you have a slight bias there, but I would agree with you.
Just a little.
I mean, it's like a translator, right? It's like it's like a layman's like, here's what Major League Baseball said, like they're this big entity on the hill, and then there's this tweet that comes out that says, well, what that really means is, remember the players cannot go to work because they're being locked out. They want to go to work. It's like, and then one last question on that. Then what is typically the length of the CBA? I haven't looked that up before, but isn't it usually like 4 to 5 years? I mean, yes. I feel like they usually extend them. So they could, and they've done this before, kind of like you said, do a quick, I don't know if it's slapdash deal, but they could do kind of a quick, let's get this together. Let's get 2 years so we can get the ball rolling, get in, and maybe with an agreement to negotiate next year. But I don't think I've seen a CBA shorter than 2 years or shorter than 3 years.
I think you're right on that. And you know what? I believe that Manfred actually has the ability to say we are agreeing to the current CBA in place for 1 more year, basically kick the can down the road. And I don't know if that would force the players into a strike situation if they wanted to do that. I don't know if that's an option. I hope it isn't. But, there's always the option of, okay, we'll extend it 1 more year. because I know that's happened in the past. I believe I was in on some of this stuff in 2002 or 3, where we got to that point, renegotiated some of the logistics of it, but basically extended the agreement plus whatever both sides came to an agreement on. And that's basically what can happen, at the universal DH, some of the other things. But, what else is the extended playoffs seem to be coming into play, which is kind of interesting too. And if it ever comes to fruition, we'll have more of an opportunity to talk about it, because we saw it in 2020 and what it meant to some teams. But I think the further they delay the negotiation and the agreement, that it kind of puts a delay on the extended playoffs. So those are just some of the things that are going on.
Yeah, awesome. So hopefully factual. Why don't we take a break, listen to our sponsor. I wanted to... So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe and hit the bell so you can get notified when we post new videos.